What's going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. I hope you all have been very patient this week and been having a good week so far, doing absolutely nothing, hopefully. There really has not been much to do. Lack of setups, no real follow through after a few days on certain things, unless maybe you're short on some stuff that's probably working. Um, but here in your after hours, in your futures, we're getting a nice little bounce. I guess you could say the NQ was bouncing, but it's starting to give that back already. And I just had the Kospi pulled up, same thing. You're kind of at support here, um, trying to bounce. I think the QQQ is just getting back above the 50-day in the after hour session. I'd have to look at my 24-hour market, right? But nice bounce at support maybe for the Kospi if it really wants to bounce here. But I mean, from right now, it's slowly starting to roll over here. So we'll see if that can hold. I don't know. Um, that's obviously on the back of Samsung also at support, but did lose the 50 today. So uh, I guess we'll see what happens from there. You're kind of almost finding, resistance at the 50-day right now in the short term. You also have, I gotta pull this one up. I don't know how to say this one, but nice open equals low right off the 50-day for this memory Korean name. I'm pretty sure this is memory. Obviously looks identical to your SanDisk or Samsung, SK Hynix. And SK Hynix, same thing. You're coming into the 50-day. You're getting a nice little bounce here in the futures. This one looks nice, right? The Kospi's giving it back. This one hasn't given anything back just yet. We'll see if it does, though. But a nice area for a bounce for sure. So it could be interesting tomorrow. I think SanDisk is up in the after hours. If I take a look at that, right? I mean, you're up slightly in the after hours. So that's interesting. We'll see if this actual move can hold, but overall, breadth today was not very good. You had, and I'll throw this up here, you had 385 stocks down and a little over 100 up, right? So it was not it's the worst breadth day we've had since 623. So if you look at Pradeep's as well, 400 down, 189 up. So, not the best breadth day. Almost reminds me of Thursday. Just not the greatest day, right? What else we got here? In the after hours, sorry, Rivian, you got a offering in the after hours, or sorry, yesterday you had an offering, and then today this thing's down 18%, and then I think FCell as well had offering in the after hours, and it's down over, I think, 15% in the after hours. So pretty nasty move, as you can see. If I go to a 24-hour chart, it'll show the after hours move there. Pretty nasty. Overall though, today, right, you had a nice washout in the morning, and then you did have some bounce in some names. NBIS is one I specifically remember. You did have some sort of a bounce today, but it gave the whole thing back, which is not what you want to see. It was nice to see the washout and for this thing to come back, but to see it give that whole move back was not my favorite for sure. And I'll talk about why I threw this on the list, right? And SanDisk was one that I did buy, which I did talk about, but another one that at least this one did hold up here, which was nice. You had the big washout, you came into a support area, you bounced, but you did hold up into the close, which is super nice to see. So maybe in some areas that's working, and then some of the memories up in the after hours. So we'll see if that can hold. Like I said, your QQQ closed below the 50-day today, could be there in the after hours, be above it, but not the best thing to see. Looks like we could be searching for a low still, right? Obviously, we're still doing that. Maybe if we can get a push day tomorrow, today's lows could be a line in the sand as a higher low, because you did have, some sort of a wick on the bottom. So this could be like your hammer candle, could be trying to make a reversal tomorrow, but we need to see like an inside day tomorrow that holds above the 50-day or something, or just a push above today's highs. Would be super interesting. But I really overall just want to see us reclaim the 50-day on the NASDAQ. And SMH, right? Same setup, kind of as your QQQ, except you're just barely below the 50-day. But I don't know, maybe this thing just needs lower, right? I look at Intel and it's just not good. It just does not look good to me, right? You're in a big base for sure, but for right now in the short term, what we have currently, we're closing below the 50. We're gapping down. We're down almost 10%. Just not my favorite look, but we'll see how this name falls into support. I didn't throw this one on the list because it's not quite at an area where I'd want to see a bounce it. You do have a support gap and then like this huge area of support here, but you close below the 50. So to me, it just looks like maybe it wants a little bit lower, but if we get a gap up tomorrow, I don't want to be chasing all these names, right? Right, if you look at your Soxel, you're right at a prior low. You know, you kind of undercut it and rally a little bit higher through it today. So maybe these names could see a little bit of a bounce. Nvidia, you came into the 200 day today, and I did put this on the list. I did not like the day it had yesterday, with the little wick on the top, and the inside day looked to me like it could just be a bear flag to want to break down. But then today you gapped down, you held right at the 200, and you held strong. That was super nice to see, right? Off the open, you're kind of going sideways, and then you just take off the whole rest of the day, right? Super nice close on this one. So it looks to me maybe it could be trying to build a higher low, holding the 200 either way. It's a nice, with a nice day today. So an inside day tomorrow will be super interesting. You know, the mags, kind of a nothing burger today. Continuing to go through these semis, right? AMD, you lost a 20 day today, but you did put an outside bar in. I just don't know how to feel. Maybe this thing needs lower, and if it does, that would be nice, because then I'd have a washout trade to a support gap, and if it loses that, maybe I'll watch the 50 day, and if it wants to go any lower, you got a big prior low. But I mean, this thing's been holding up pretty well, but it did lose the 20 day today, so we'll see. But I will be watching today's highs for sure on an AMD. I talked about Intel, and then Marvell. I think I have this. Yeah, I have this on the list. You come into the 50 day with a nice reversal candle, right? This is one of the first pullbacks to the 50 day since we got above the 200 in the 50 day, right? This is the first pullback. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing, hopefully, it doesn't gap up too much, right? I don't want this thing to be gapping up into a resistance gap right here. That would not be ugly. And a lot of people would probably chase that, and then it would cool off, maybe fall back into the prior day. But either way, I'm watching the prior day high push through that, or a gap up and like a washout into that would be super interesting to me. But I mean, you know, you're coming off of a huge gap up. You've just been sideways for a while. You're breaking down to the sideways, but you got a big area of support, right? The 50 day is big. You also got the gaps. You got a support gap from the big gap up day. So that's super interesting spot overall right here. And I just want to see if we can push above today's high, make this low right here off the 50, kind of a line in the sand. I don't want to see like a red day tomorrow losing the 50, right? We're holding above it. We look good. There's still some semis that look like maybe they could be in a bounce spot. And I did throw ARM on here as well, right? You're back at the 50. You get kind of like an ugly close below the 50, but you're right at support. Can we bounce here and get a push as like an undercut and rally of the 50 day? Would be super interesting. But I mean, a lot of these things are gapping off highs so much, right? You get a gap here, gap here, gap here. So there's going to be a lot of areas where you got overhead resistance, spots where we probably could stall. Like if we gap up tomorrow, like I said, I don't want to be chasing right into a gap. So just going to continue to watch these. DRAM, your first test of the 50 day, and it bounced in a nice way. Obviously, I talked about SanDisk. I talked about, I didn't quite talk about MU. MU's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It did gap down another one. You know, it is what it is. It's practically at the 50, practically at those June lows as well. But I mean, really in just, you know, the middle of nowhere. So we'll have to see what this one can do. I think a few of the other ones, I mean, WDC, same thing. It loses the 50. It's kind of not really in the middle of anywhere, but we'll see if it can get above the 50. Same thing with STX. It looks the same. We'll see. I mean, if these things just rally hard right back through their 50 day, that's going to be super interesting, right? You're pretty much undercutting it today and then rallying back through. And then you got SanDisk, you know, same thing where it could be pushing through that 50 day. Would be a super interesting spot, right? Going through the mags, I talked about this a little bit, kind of a nothing burger day today. Apple, you're at resistance and rejecting. So like I said, don't be chasing stocks that are up like 6 days in a row with no actual tight setup. Meta, you know, pretty much a turd to me. I mean, this thing is horrible. No way I look at this to trade it, but either way, you did get some sort of a bounce today, right? Microsoft, nothing, right? No reason to even look at this thing. Oops, if I can spell here. Amazon, I did throw this on the list. You're trying to build a bottoming base here. I didn't mind the candle today, right? It is what it is. Not my favorite day today, but I would think just kind of build out the right side here for a few more days would be super nice. You look at a weekly chart, you got an inside week. You build a pretty big higher low on the weekly. I'm thinking that, and you also, you know, undercut and rallied the 200 days. So this could be a good spot here for a nice bottoming base. It almost reminds me of Apple from a little bit ago, where it kind of came to the 200 day, built a nice little bottoming base here, and then took off from there. So maybe that same thing could happen, but I just want to see a little bit, just get a little bit more tight right here, okay? I just don't, this is not my favorite action. You're kind of just wedging straight up, but just maybe sideways for a few days would be super interesting. What else gotta go? Tesla, I mean, this action sucks. You know, you look at a weekly chart and okay, maybe it looks okay. Another one where it's like, could it be trying to build a higher low here? You get an inside week so far. Maybe it chops around for a day or two and just looks a little bit better, but you rejected the 200 day today. You stayed heavy. You know, the market was down, the market came back just a little bit towards the end of the day, and this thing's closing on lows. So not my favorite, but we'll see what the way it can act the next few days. But this is just so volatile, and this range right here is so choppy and loose and just wide and just disgusting. You should not be wanting to trade this, honestly. Just not my favorite. Me personally, I just, you know, don't want to be trading this one. Nvidia, I talked about this one, not bad. Google, you know, you're coming to the 50, you reject the 50, you're up. You're another one where it's like it's almost wedging, where it's just straight up, no real tightness, and a reject to the 50 right into a, you know, an area of resistance, right? So maybe a few days of tightness or a nice pullback here would maybe set this back up, but I can't feel any way about this right now because it's at the 50 and it rejected today. So who knows? Not my favorite look overall though on this Google. Bug, right? Cybersecurity names. You get a rest day after being kind of extended in the short term, right? Just approaching 7 ATRs from the 50-day. Super nice move, right? Okta's been awesome, but extended. Palo Alto cooling off a little bit today after being extended. FTNT just an inside day. Still looks awesome, but it is just almost at 6 ATRs from the 50. If you own this, let them go. Not sell them, but, you know, ride these things. Don't just micromanage them, right? They look awesome. Trim into strength. CrowdStrike I trimmed on Monday when you had that super big pop. I trimmed some of it. You get a small rest day, inside day to day. It looks awesome to just continue higher, but I wouldn't be initiating new positions in these. Rubrics, same thing. You don't want to be initiating new positions all the way up here, but they still look awesome. They've been acting so great. And S is another one. I'm pretty sure this is cybersecurity. It's almost like a punch bowl of death, but I mean, it's been acting awesome. It got back above the 200. It's been straight up. So it's not a setup I want to buy. It's not on the ready list, but an inside day to day is interesting. And you're ready to pivot. Not something I'm going to be buying, but I'm just showing like cybersecurity group has been awesome and they've been acting great, but they're just not really buyable, right? You look at the dollar. You did have a nice bounce today. To me, it looks like a little flag is trying to be built here. So I will just continue to watch this. It will be super interesting. I think TNX gets back above the 50-day, kind of comes into it and had a really nice bounce today off the 50. So we'll see what those two things mean, as well as I think crude oil here, 1 day bounce, you know, up 5% yesterday or today, and USO kind of same thing, just getting some sort of a little bounce. So we'll see what that can do. There are some oil names that actually have been showing massive relative strength compared to the rest of the group, and oil in general, like oil finally bouncing, and these names are already at 52-week highs. I think Velo was one that made 52-week highs. DK, if I'm not mistaken, made 52-week highs. You know, these names are just acting extreme, like weird for some reason. They're acting so good for some odd reason. WGMI, there's no life in the end here, right? You're at support for sure, or you're at prior resistance that could possibly become support, but there's just absolutely no life in this group. Cypher just does not look good. Hut doesn't look good. And I'm not going to go through this list, but I did throw NDIS on here because this is the recipe for an undercut and rally. You get the super nasty close, and I just want to see a rally right back through this low, and that to me would be a pretty nice undercut and rally. So a lot of people are looking at this chart like, oh, this is fucking disgusting, and it is, right? You lost a 50, another down day today. The market was barely down, or, you know, the market was down today, and this thing's down 8%, gap down off highs. But, you know, often when you get the super ugly closes and something that could really change it here would just be a rally simply right through that left side low. So something I'll just definitely be watching. It's on the list here. I know I kind of ramble on a little bit too much here. XBI. Super nice continuing higher, right? You got Moderna, Twist, which is just cooling off today. KYMR, nice little flag. It's kind of pushing out of VKTX with a super nice continuation day today. TGTX, super nice out of a flag today. PTGX, you know, a super big day today. This group is just unreal. Will I be buying these up here? No way in hell. But I mean, they've just been absolutely unreal. And XLV is also right there too, right? You got Eli Lilly, which is a name I own. J&J. I don't own this, is super slow, but I mean, these things look awesome. UNH looks awesome. AbbVie looks awesome, right? Merck, you know, this is on the list, right? You're building a nice little flag here. It's just so slow. This thing doesn't even move 3% per day. Super slow. And I don't think there's a leverage ETF for this, so I probably won't trade it, but the chart looks awesome. The group's awesome. It's got everything behind it. Hinge Health, another healthcare name. GH is a name I own, but I'm pretty much trimmed a good amount in this name, kind of just letting the rest just ride for now. But it still looks great, right? You're still above the 5-day. You're in a great group, right? I debated talking about this this group here, Ethereum, right? You're slightly rolling over here. in the after hours, kind of rejecting the 50-day, again, inside day. I wouldn't be surprised to see this breakdown, but it almost looks like it's trying to build some sort of a little bottoming base. You had a positive reaction to bad news over the weekend, right? Michael Saylor selling stuff. But then I look at MSTZ and I'm like, this looks pretty good, right? You make a massive move up and you just kind of pull super hard right into the 200-day inside day. But obviously I'm going to be looking at MSTR, right? And if I go to a weekly chart here, you undercut it in a bad way. You try to rally back, but you're just right back at the prior lows, rejecting it. You put in an inside day. To me, this looks like a bear flag, and it just looks shortable, and it's going to go down tomorrow. And MSTZ is probably going to go up, holding the 200-day, and looks awesome. So I don't know. I just don't have a vehicle to really trade Bitcoin to the long side. Circle looks like shit. This thing has pretty much been a short for a little while now. You had a nice bear flag. It looks like it could be trying to build another little momentum to the downside setup. IBIT, I just don't know how to trade this. I'll probably just watch Bitcoin. You've had some nice relative strength in it the last week, so I'll just continue to pay attention to it. I don't think I'm going to be trading it, but not a bad look, right? Inside day today, nice bottom wick candle yesterday. Could be trying to build a higher low. Looks like it just established a higher low. Your UFO looks horrible. Stay away from this group. NASA looks horrible right on the back of ASTS. Rocket Lab. SpaceX is absolutely no help and looks disgusting. And I'm going to continue to keep this on my list just for a short, right? I've been trying to short this name for days, weeks since it IPO'd, right? I saw the big flush down here and I was like, oh my God, I need to get short. I really wanted it to push up into this gap, but it didn't. I should have gotten in somewhere else, but still looks horrible, right? Avoid the laggard groups unless you absolutely hate your money. So definitely avoid those. I'm going to quickly go through my list here. AMD, I talked about, right? Just to push to a priority high. If not, I think a flush would be nice to watch on it. Amazon, same thing. Just a few more days to build out, but the weekly chart looks fine. Looks pretty good. Looks like it's trying to build a bottoming base. We'll see what can happen. I just don't want it to see one of these red bars and just kind of fall back down. But we'll see how it acts if it does at the 200-day. ANET, I think you got, I can't remember which name I talked about, but ANET, super nice little base. If you look at a monthly chart, you got a double inside month, super tight after a nice big move up. And you're building a nice little base here. 7% off of a new high, and this thing moves almost 6% per day. So it could get there pretty quickly. Nice inside day today. It's been building higher lows up into this spot. So I will watch for a push over today's highs. Will be super interesting. ARM, like I talked about, you get a nasty close on the 50. Can we rally back through, undercut and rally? But don't want to be chasing into your supply, right? BB, so, big relative strength name, software group. You had a gap on earnings. This is the first pull after the gap right to the top of the base. So I'm going to be watching for an inside day tomorrow, or maybe like an intraday washout and then a push right back through the level. Definitely, if you got this one today, great work. You're a sniper. But I'm going to be watching this one for an inside day for sure tomorrow, or just to push over today's highs. I think could act great. This name has been acting awesome. Maybe to let the 50-day catch up, it would be nice to see an inside day or two here. Just maybe, some stalling action. Just get a little bit tight. But I do like the big move, the relative strength, and the pull back to the top of the base. DDOG, I don't see quite, I don't see a setup just yet on this one. But I think an inside day tomorrow would look awesome. You look at a weekly chart, you get an inside week so far. Looks pretty good, but the time to buy this one was definitely lower. Just continue to let it consolidate up here, and I think it would be awesome. I think an inside day or two here would look great. You've just built a higher low right off the 10-day, so it looks really good. It's in the right group. Just needs a little bit more of a tighter setup here, but it looks awesome. Dell, inside day, one of the better looking names I think on my list. You're building some sort of a flag. Almost looks like a VCP to me, but I do like VCPs that kind of have more of a flat top here. I guess you could consider this as like your flat top. But you are building higher lows right into this little flag. So an inside day tomorrow, I'm going to watch a push over today's highs, or like a washout tomorrow, maybe towards the 20-day, or if we get a gap up in wash, people chase it and this thing washes, and then we get a reclaim of VWAP or a 620 setup in an inside day tomorrow, and then a push out. But just what I'll be watching. Okay, that's what I'll be watching. I really like this name. I think it looks awesome. Hood, 2-day flag or 2 or 3-day flag here. You do need to let the 50-day catch up, as it's pretty much almost 5 ATRs from the 50-day, but you got the 200-day, you're above it. I will also watch the 200-day as a spot if this thing wants to pull back in for a higher low area, but nice flag being built out. If you own this name, stick with it. It still looks awesome. Merck, I talked about building a nice little flag inside day today. Marvell, I talked about, you're pretty much at the 50-day. I'm going to be watching the priority high. NBIS, debated putting this one on the list, but I will be watching for a rally back through support as an undercut and rally setup. NVIDIA off the 50-day, and then RXT. I really like the weekly chart here. Super nice relative strength. Still above the 10 and the 20. I think an inside day tomorrow will be super interesting, and that's pretty much going to be it. MSTZ I talked about. SpaceX I talked about. ANET I talked about. I think IBKR looks great. You get an inside day to day. Nice flag being built. GS looks good. FFIV, not a bad setup here. Nice flag. AGL. Yeah, this name, it'll gap down like 30% randomly overnight. So definitely not something I want to buy, but I mean, it doesn't look bad. Tight. It's in the red group. Centennial 1 talked about that. QURE, same thing, right? Where it can gap down, 50% overnight, and that's not what I want. But you get a big gap up, 80% gap up, and you pull back to the 20-day. Nice outside bar, not bad. WYFI looks like it could be a bear flag, or you double inside day and you're just going to gap up and push out. Would be super interesting. I think BE also looks like a short. So we'll see. You got FCell also in the after hours with the offering. So who knows? Maybe BE is going to gap down tomorrow. But I've been trying to short this name for like 2 days now, right here at the pivot, and it stops me out right before it dumps. So pretty annoying. But not much traction so far in my prior trades alongside, right? I do have LLY and SanDisk from today. Eli Lilly I bought like 2 days ago. But outside of that, right? Not the best feedback from trades I've taken. Stuff's super volatile. There's not really any clean setups that I'm freaking out about. I don't want to chase a gap up in the morning. And in fact, like I'd probably trim a SanDisk into a gap up tomorrow. While other people might try to be buying that. So yeah, that's going to be it. But I appreciate y'all for watching.